Yo, what's going on, Kicks Army? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to draw the Air Jordan 5, as well as talking about the Spurs' chances to make in the playoffs and if Dwyane Wade will come back for next season. Let's get it! Start, we have to make sure our guidelines are set so that way the shoe can look proportionally correct. We're going to start off by drawing two squares right next to each other. Afterward, we'll divide the two squares into top and bottom halves. And we're going to add a vertical line dividing the bottom right hand quadrant into halves, as well as the initial left box. Lastly, we're going to add one more horizontal line dividing the two bottom quadrants into halves, and this will give us all the guidelines we need to draw out the rest of the sneaker. To start off the drawing, we're going to go ahead and work on the silhouette. The main thing I want to point out is notice how the tongue extends past the top line that we created for the boxes. And of course, with all the lines that you're going to see me do, use the guidelines that we created and look at where they are in relation to where I'm putting my lines. After the silhouette is done, we're going to start working on the outsole. Notice how most of the detail stays underneath that last horizontal line that we made. Next, we're going to go ahead and add that front panel, as well as adding that panel that's going to be towards the heel. Now we're going to go ahead and add that side panel. Then we're going to go ahead and start adding more detail towards the upper. Like I said earlier, use those guidelines. They are there to help you, not hurt you. Now we're going to add that section towards the top where the eyelets go right by the sock liner, as well as the curved section right next to it. Finally, we're going to go ahead and add some of the laces, as well as that sections where the eyelets come through as well. And we're going to add the lace lock, and you are pretty much done. As usual, the rest of the drawing is going to be outlining it with the micron marker. You can use Sharpies as well as you have that. Both work perfectly fine. And then after I have everything outlined, I'm going to go through and I'm going to color it. This time I'm doing the Air Jordan 5 Oreo colorway. Now, some quick notes on the video. I didn't know until after the video was already done recording that I pretty much drew the whole thing a little bit slanted to the left of the recording. I thought I was doing everything centered, but then after the fact, I'm like, oh crap, it's not too centered. Which is fine. The whole shoe, you can still see everything works. It's just driving my OCD absolutely crazy. But another thing I kind of want to point out, when you guys are working on these videos, when you're using those videos as your guide to go ahead and draw the same sneakers, one thing I really want to stress is that it's not about perfection, it's about execution. If you follow this tutorial step by step and it doesn't come out perfect, that is absolutely okay. The idea behind the guidelines is to make sure that you are drawing the shoe in the correct proportion to what it should be, because I notice in a lot of drawings that I see that people upload, the proportions aren't exactly perfect and it kind of throws off the feel for the shoe. It either looks too long, too narrow, certain parts of the shoe that are supposed to be like in certain spots are get stretched out or getting too thinned out. There's a lot of different errors that are going on with your guys' drawings. And I want to get you guys into the habit of thinking, okay, if this is a sneaker, how big should a sneaker be? How tall should it be? Where should the items within the sneaker be? And all that kind of stuff. Because when I draw the sneakers, you notice how the first thing I do after I have that grid going, I go ahead and I draw the silhouette. If you just look at the silhouette that I do, you can tell it's an Air Jordan 5 right off the bat. And that's very key because that silhouette is also going to be your guide on where things should go. And again, even after following this tutorial step by step, it may not come out perfect, but that's why you got to practice and practice and practice. I've been drawing sneakers since 2009, and my first sneakers looked absolutely terrible. I don't have the picture of what it looked like. I wouldn't even show you guys even if I did, but I'm telling you the proportions were bad. But after hundreds of executions, I would say, of the same sneaker over and over again, I slowly learned little things here and there that made the sneakers look more real. Truth is, you're not going to be good at anything unless you practice. So as long as you keep practicing, I can guarantee you that your drawings will get better. And even if drawing is not your strong suit, even if you'd like to just color in, I have these stencils, all of these stencils available on my website, KicksArt.com. You can go on the website, you can go ahead and print them out, color them however you want. Everything on there is free. And ready for this, I'm going to give you something else. Some people, like when it comes to just straight up drawing something that's on a blank sheet of paper, for some people that's very intimidating. I understand that. If you want, what you can do is you can go ahead, you can print out my stencils and then trace over the stencil so that we can kind of get used for how the proportions of a shoe should go. That's another reason why I like having the 4 stencils on one page, because it gives you more chances to work on the same thing. At the end of the day, do whatever works for you, but the point is, no matter what you do, you're probably going to have to practice at it to get good. And that doesn't just go for drawing, that goes for everything in life. There's your little motivational speech for the day. Now on to some basketball talk. Apparently ESPN has predicted the playoff seedings for the following season, and the one thing that I noticed on there that was really interesting is that they do not have the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs. Let me go ahead and give you guys their rankings on what they think the seeding will be 1 through 8. At number 1, they have, of course, the Warriors. No real big shock there. At number 2, they have the Utah Jazz. Now, I like the Utah Jazz. I think Donovan Mitchell did absolutely outstanding last season. He probably should have won Rookie of the Year, but it's okay. There's always next year, Donovan, no worries. And while I do think they're going to make the playoffs for sure, I don't know if I can put him up at number 2. Now, if they do get the number 2 seed, then that's great. I have no problem with that, but I don't really see it, man. Then in the 3rd seed, they have the Houston Rockets, which makes about sense. I think they can go number 2, but whatever. Anything is fine, I guess. Number 4, we actually have the Denver Nuggets, a team who didn't make the playoffs last year, so that's pretty interesting. And don't forget, they also drafted Michael Porter Jr. too. He was one of the players where if he would have stayed healthy, probably would have went number 1 in this loaded draft pick, so that could be a really big reason as to why. And they also have a pretty good team. Number 5, they have the Minnesota Timberwolves, which, yeah, I could see that, but I could also see them potentially not making the playoffs at all. That's just one of those teams where it's kind of a hit and miss. We have to wait to see what happens. At number 6, they have the Oklahoma City Thunder, which again, I think that's pretty much fair. I don't really see them getting too high up in the rankings, so I would say 6 is pretty fair considering where they're at. At number 7, they have the Pelicans. Again, that's pretty reasonable, I would say. And then number 8, they have Portland. Now, Portland's another one of those teams that I could see probably not making the playoffs. And that's because I think LeBron and the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, and especially the San Antonio Spurs. I believe they had like 47 wins last season without Kawhi Leonard. So for them to do that well without their best player and the player who's arguably the 3rd best player in the league, to add DeMar DeRozan, who granted is no Kawhi Leonard, but he's still DeMar DeRozan, yeah, I think they're making the playoffs for sure. Like I mentioned, I'm kind of skeptical about Portland and Minnesota. I really don't know if those 2 teams are going to be able to make it. I think they're just kind of not right there, especially Portland. I think they kind of maxed out their potential with what they have. Last season they did really good, but this season's a different animal. The West just got a lot more tougher. And then for Minnesota, I don't know, I feel like something's gonna happen where like they're gonna trade one of their star players. They apparently had a lot of drama going on last season with people not getting along with each other, and I get that happens a lot, but I don't know, I don't really see Minnesota advancing. And then in other news, we got Dwyane Wade saying that if he were to play the game of basketball again this season, it would only be in a Miami Heat uniform. So that rules out any of the discussions that we had about him potentially going overseas, as well as it rules out any potential discussions about him going to another team, particularly like a stacked team. Some people throw out the possibility of him potentially going on to the Lakers. Yeah, I don't see that happening for sure. And I agree with his decision that if he's gonna play anywhere, it's gonna be in Miami. That being said, what I would do is I would think this. If he's gonna play again, he would probably only play for 1 more season, and that would be his farewell season for Miami. I think he knows, especially a lot more than me, that Miami's not going to really have any more success in the near future. He had already brought that team 3 championships. He did a lot for that organization. He's probably the best player in that organization's history by far. You can count LeBron in there, but I mean, let's be honest, Dwyane Wade did get them the extra championship back in 06, so that kind of automatically puts him over the top. And it's not like he needs the money. And I think he honestly wants to have that one final year where he's kind of doing it for the fans and for the city of Miami. Now, he could go like the Tim Duncan route, the Dirk Nowitzki route, the Kobe Bryant route, where they pretty much stay with the franchise until they're done playing, because he does probably have that leverage. But at the same time, he has already accomplished a lot in his career. He already has plenty of success. He has plenty of money for sure. And besides the love of the game aspect, I don't really think there's another reason for him to put a lot of stress on his body, like especially over the course of 82 grueling games for the season. He has had a bunch of injuries in the past. That's part of the reason why LeBron left, because Dwyane Wade was kind of getting a lot of injuries over the course of a short period, and he was missing out on a lot of games. But yeah, I see if Dwyane Wade does play, it's going to be for 1 more year, and it's going to be his farewell year. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and bounce past the bell to get post notifications. Don't forget to check out KicksArt.com for all your sneaker stencil needs. Check out the other videos on the channel, as well as go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'm being really active on Instagram lately. Like I said, I want to grow the channel, and a big way to grow the channel, I think, is to be super active on Instagram. Use those hashtags, so make sure you go ahead and give me a follow. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeet!